A double life? Or something even darker? But before she could press Claire for answers, the bell above the bookstore door chimed, and Emma turned to see a familiar silhouette framed in the doorway. Daniel. His smile was the same, but his eyes? Empty. There you are, he said, stepping forward like a predator closing in. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? The air thickened with tension, the kind that made Emma's fight-or-flight instincts kick into overdrive. Claire's grip on her arm tightened, nails digging in. Run, she breathed. But it was too late. Daniel was already reaching into his coat pocket, pulling out something small and metallic. Not a weapon. A business card. Carter Biotech, it read, embossed in sleek black letters. You want answers? Daniel said, his voice dropping to a whisper. Then come see what we're really working on. But be warned, Emma. Once you know the truth, there's no going back. And just like that, the game changed. Because this wasn't a love story anymore. This was a thriller. And Emma? She was already in way over her head. Emma's fingers trembled as she took the business card from Daniel, her mind racing with 1,000 questions, none of which she dared to ask out loud. The way he was looking at her now wasn't just intense. It was hungry, like she was a piece of some grand design she didn't yet understand. Claire's warning echoed in her ears, but before she could react, the bookstore's lights flickered, and Daniel's phone buzzed again. This time with a sound that wasn't a ringtone but a frequency, low and pulsing, like a heartbeat. Emma's vision blurred for a split second, and when she blinked, Daniel was closer. His breath cold against her ear. "Tick-tock, Emma," he murmured. "The clock's already running." Then, just as suddenly as he'd appeared, he was gone, leaving nothing but the scent of ozone and the crushing weight of his words behind. The next 24 hours passed in a haze. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that every shadow held eyes, every passing stranger a potential threat. She tried to call Claire, but the number was disconnected. Worse, her own devices started acting strange. Her laptop booted up to static-filled screens, her smart home devices whispering garbled phrases in the dead of night. It was as if the world itself was glitching around her, and Daniel was the source. Desperate for answers, she followed the address on the business card to an unmarked building on the outskirts of the city, its sleek glass exterior hiding something far more sinister than a typical corporate office. The lobby was empty except for a single elevator, its doors opening with a silent invitation. Emma hesitated, but then her phone lit up with a message from an unknown sender. Asterisk, you've come this far. Don't you want to know why? Asterisk. The elevator descended, not up, down. Far deeper than any basement should go. When the doors slid open, Emma's breath caught in her throat. The room beyond was a sprawling lab, humming with technology that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi nightmare. And there, standing at the center of it all, was Daniel, his sleeves rolled up to reveal arms crisscrossed with thin glowing scars. "Welcome to the real Carter Biotech," he said, spreading his hands like a showman revealing his greatest trick. But before Emma could demand an explanation, a figure stepped out from the shadows behind him, a woman with her face. Same eyes, same hair, even the same scar above her eyebrow from a childhood fall. "Meet Project Echo," Daniel said, his smile turning razor-sharp. "Funny thing about fate, Emma. Sometimes it's not about what was, but what could be." Emma's legs nearly gave out. This wasn't just about secrets or money. It was about her. Her DNA. Her life. The pieces slammed together with brutal clarity. The accidental subway meeting, the way Daniel knew details even she had forgotten, the glitches in reality. Carter Biotech wasn't just studying human potential. They were replicating it. And Emma? She wasn't the love interest in this story. She was the blueprint. The woman who looked like her stepped forward, tilting her head in perfect mimicry of Emma's own mannerisms. "Don't be scared," she said, voice eerily identical. "We're going to change the world together." But the way her pupils dilated just a fraction too late, the way her fingers twitched like a machine calibrating, it was all wrong. Unnatural. Emma stumbled back, her pulse roaring in her ears. Daniel's grin widened. "Oh, you do catch on fast," he said, pulling a syringe from his pocket. "But here's the twist, sweetheart. You weren't the first. Just the best." The screens around them flickered to life, showing footage of other women, all slight variations of Emma, all with the same terrified look in their eyes. Failed experiments. The elevator doors began to close behind her, sealing her in. Daniel advanced, his voice dropping to a whisper. The real question is, will you break like the others? Or will you finally give me what I need? Somewhere in the chaos, Emma's hand closed around a fire extinguisher. She swung hard, shattering the nearest screen in a burst of sparks. Alarms blared, and in the chaos, she ran, not toward the elevator, but deeper into the lab, where a single door pulsed with emergency lights. Behind her, Daniel's laughter chased her like a ghost. You can't outrun destiny, Emma, he called. But destiny had it wrong. Because Emma wasn't just some pawn in his game. She was the wild card. And she was about to flip the whole damn table. The door led to a stairwell, spiraling upward into darkness. Emma took the steps 2 at a time, her lungs burning, but the higher she climbed, the more the walls seemed to breathe around her, the air thickening with that same unnatural hum. Then, at the next landing, a shock. Claire, bruised but alive, gripping a flash drive like it was the only thing keeping her standing. They're not just cloning people, she gasped. They're uploading them. Daniel's not even. A gunshot rang out, cutting her off. Emma didn't wait to hear the rest. She grabbed Claire's hand and ran, the truth snapping into place with terrifying clarity. Daniel Carter wasn't human. And if she didn't get out now, neither would she be. The roof was a dead end, the city skyline stretching out below them like a taunt. Claire shoved the flash drive into Emma's pocket. Get this to anyone, she begged. Then, with a strength that shouldn't have been possible, she hurled a ventilation cover at the stairwell door, jamming it shut. What about you? Emma screamed. Claire's smile was sad. I'm already one of them. Before Emma could process that, Claire's eyes changed, the irises flickering, pixels rearranging, and Emma understood. The real Claire had been gone for a long time. Helicopter blades roared overhead, a black silhouette descending. Emma's choices were vanish or die. So she jumped, not off the roof, but toward the ladder dangling from the chopper, her fingers grasping at thin air. For a heartbeat, she was weightless. Then a hand closed around her wrist, yanking her up. The face staring back at her was familiar, but not Daniel's. It was the other her, Project Echo, now bleeding from a wound that didn't drip red, but something thick and silver. You're not supposed to be the one who lives, the clone hissed. Emma's reply was a kick to its chest, sending it tumbling into the void. As the helicopter banked hard, the lab exploding below in a fireball that lit up the night, Emma clutched the flash drive like a lifeline. But the pilot didn't speak. Didn't turn. And when the city lights glinted off the rearview mirror, Emma's blood turned to ice. The reflection wasn't a stranger's. It was Daniel's. Buckle up, he said, voice dripping with amusement. We're just getting started. The screen didn't cut to black. It glitched, just for a second, and when the image returned, Emma was gone. Only the empty seat remained. And Daniel? He was smiling at the camera, his eyes locking onto the audience like he could see you watching. Who's next? He whispered. Then, static. The helicopter's roar was deafening, but Emma's mind was louder, screaming at her to move, to fight, to do anything but sit frozen in the seat behind Daniel as the city lights blurred beneath them. His reflection in the rearview mirror was still watching her, that same unnerving smile playing on his lips like this was all some twisted game. And maybe it was. Because as Emma's fingers tightened around the flash drive Claire had died for, she realized something. Daniel wanted her to run. He wanted her to panic. But Emma was done playing by his rules. With a surge of adrenaline, she lunged forward, not for the door, but for the helicopter's controls, yanking the steering column hard to the left. The world tilted violently, and for a heart-stopping moment, they were weightless. Daniel's smirk finally slipping as the chopper spiraled toward the Hudson River. The impact was brutal. Cold water rushed in, swallowing the cockpit, the shock of it stealing Emma's breath. Daniel's face was the last thing she saw before the darkness took her. His expression not angry, but amused, like even this was part of his plan. Then, nothing. Emma woke up coughing salt water onto a rocky shore, her body aching like she'd been dragged through hell. The flash drive was still clenched in her fist. Nearby, the helicopter's wreckage smoldered in the dawn light, but there was no sign of Daniel. No body, no blood, nothing. Just a single silver-scarred handprint on a piece of twisted metal, glowing faintly before fading into the air like smoke. Emma's stomach turned. Whatever Daniel was, he wasn't dead. And he wasn't done with her. The flash drive held the answers. She was sure of it. But accessing it meant going underground, to the kind of people who specialized in hiding from the world. It took 3 days of favors, threats, and a stolen laptop, but finally, the files unlocked, revealing footage that made Emma's blood run cold. There she was, dozens of her, strapped to chairs in a white room, wires snaking from their temples to a central machine. And Daniel standing at the center, whispering the same phrase to each of them. Initiate transfer. The screen flickered, then cut to a date stamp from 10 years ago. Long before Emma had met him on the subway. The truth hit her like a punch. Daniel Carter hadn't just cloned her. He'd harvested her. Her memories. Her emotions. Every piece of her that made her human. And the real horror? She wasn't the original. She was Echo 7. A prototype. A failure. The final file was a voice recording, staticky with age. Daniel's voice, but softer, almost human. If you're hearing this, I'm already gone. The project was never about replication. It was about immortality. But they took it too far. They took her too far. Find the core. Destroy it. And for God's sake, don't trust anyone who knows your name. Then, a gunshot. Silence. Emma's hands shook. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about ending this. The coordinates on the drive led to an abandoned power plant upstate, its halls echoing with the same eerie hum she'd heard in the lab. And there, pulsing like a heartbeat in the center of the building, was the core, a massive organic-looking machine, its surface writhing with what looked like veins. And hooked to it, suspended in liquid, was the original Emma. Or what was left of her. Daniel was waiting, of course. But this time, he didn't smile. You were always the curious one, he sighed, stepping between her and the core. But this isn't your story to finish. Except Emma was done talking. She didn't need a weapon. She had the one thing Daniel's experiments could never replicate. Choice. With a scream of pure defiance, she slammed the flash drive into the core's access port, the virus Claire had smuggled out erupting through the system in a cascade of sparks. The machine shrieked, its veins bursting as the liquid around the original Emma drained away. Daniel's body convulsed, his skin flickering like a broken hologram. You don't understand. He roared, but his voice was glitching now, fracturing. I was saving us. I was. Then with a sound like shattering glass, he disintegrated, pixels scattering into the air like ash. The core exploded in a wave of light, and Emma ran, the building collapsing behind her. She didn't look back. Not when the news reports called it a gas leak. Not when the police closed the case on the missing billionaire. And not when, months later, a single email appeared in her inbox. No sender, no text, just an attachment. A video of a lab, somewhere new, with a familiar face staring into the camera. Phase 3 initiated. But Emma just smiled. Because she'd left something else in that core. A message. A warning. And a promise. Somewhere out there, the other Emmas were waking up. And this time, they were ready. The screen cuts to black. Then, static. A whisper. Who's next? But it's not Daniel's voice. It's hers. End.